It's the last week of the year and the fantasy football season for most of us. We get you set for championships and start looking ahead to the 2024 rookie class for you Dynasty Degens. Cheers. It's the IBT podcast coming at you.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check your stat line, see who's up, that over under hit too clutch. And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. And so I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way, and it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, December 26th, and we have made it. Fantasy Football Championship Week is here, and we'll certainly chat all about that tonight. My name is Seth Woolcock, and on the back of my guy, Brees Hall, I am here, I am cheery, and I'm in great spirits. I'm joined by my co-host, a man with big brain and bigger balls, the founder of Pros with Joes, the founder of Green Screens Media. He's Eric Romoff. Eric, how we doing today, buddy?
Man, doing better now that I'm inside and talking some fantasy football. We had a little wildlife encounter before the show, so not trying to get sprayed by a skunk. I am trying to take down a couple fantasy championships, so can't wait to dive into this one.
Let's go. Eric already took me down in the IBT Fantasy League, so congrats to you there. And guys, we're also joined by another member of the IBT family tonight, the holder of the trademark Gooch Cheese, the self-proclaimed Slim Shady of the fantasy football industry. He's Hoov. How are we doing today, Nicholas Hoover?
There's only one I feel like there's the only one that's balling in a trailer park right now, and that's your boy Hoov. So I'm Slim Shady. Yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just in my titty. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Hey, please stand up. Hey, please stand up. What's up, people? How you doing? All right.
It's good to have you in, Hoov. We appreciate the high
How
energy.
am I supposed to follow that? Like, come on, Hoov. Like, that, you did me dirty, man.
We should have went Jay. Yeah, we should have went Jay, Eric, Hoov.
You finished with Hoov.
Your boy's on it tonight. It's the tea, man. It's the tea.
It's a great point. And guys, we're also joined by the presence of today's guest, a man who loves Betty White and Brian Dable more than most, fantasy and betting analyst over there at the Athletic Fantasy Sports Advanced Charter for FTN Data. He's Jay Felicio. What's up, Jay?
That is a very good description. Loves Betty White and Brian Dable more than most. I might put that in my bio. I absolutely love that. I appreciate you guys having me on. I still a little trying to recover. Those of us with children know the Christmas time is a little different with kids and wears you out. And I was telling you guys before, I was asleep by 10 o'clock last night. I didn't see any of that last game. But yeah, I'm excited to hang out with you guys and talk a little fantasy football championship week.
I'm glad to hear it. Jay, how are the leagues going for you? I somehow made the finals in half of my 12 leagues, thanks to Bryce, thanks to Amari Cooper. How did you fare, my friend?
So I made the finals in, I believe, 3 leagues, I want to say.
Okay.
But the one that matters the most to me is my home league, which I was lucky enough to make. And then I am also in a beer traders league. I got in with a couple of guys who run it actually met through Twitter. I'm sorry, that actually I won a division, so I'm a champion in that league. I forgot it runs through this week, so I did win at least one championship already.
Yes, sir.
There we go. What about you, Hoov? How are we doing in the streets right now?
Not very good, but I got one. And that's my family one. I made my family finals.
Okay.
And everything else, I got beat by Rachel, our homegirl Rachel.
Okay, fair enough.
Number one seed in the Jerry. I think it's Jerry Rice. I'll say it's Jerry Rice, but number one seed, the Jerry Rice. So she's been balling all year. She beat me. She just knocked me out in our best friends dynasty league, I want to say.
Okay.
But yeah, it's me versus my cousin Chad in the finals of our family league, and I've been talking smack to my dad all year. So it came to fruition. He didn't make it. I'm gonna make it. It's very similar to him being a Chiefs fan and me being a 49ers fan. I'm gonna make the Super Bowl. He's falling short. It's just 2023, baby.
Eric, what about you, man? I know you already have one victory on the season. Any more within grasp?
Yeah, I already got the dub in the inaugural IBT Guillotine League, and then I've got two more home leagues that I'm still playing in. My league of record, the one that I care about the most, I took a tremendous loss to the hands of Amari Cooper and Brees Hall this last weekend. So was one of those where it was over quickly and I could just move on with the rest of my holiday, but it didn't sting any less.
Please go quickly into that good night, my friend. And guys, looks like we got some of the IBT family members riding along with us as well. Looks like we got Toronto Dave. What's up, Dave? Good to see you, man. Looks like we got Dee Dee in the chat already. And then we got Wendy front and center as well. I'm here with a fine group of people. Please stand up. Please stand up. Fair enough. Fair enough there. Hello to you, TD. Thanks so much again for joining us. And Angie saying, sup, guys. Hi, Wendy. Fancy meeting you here. Appreciate you, Angie. I don't think we've seen you in the chat before. So good to see some new faces. And Toronto Dave saying, Seth about to beat me in the finals of the Lateral League. Yeah, our friend Herms hosts that league. And listen, I've kind of got lucky to get this far, I think. And it's a 2-week final. So a lot can happen, Dave. A lot can happen. Yeah, the old dreaded 2-week final. So either way, you know, it's a pleasure to be playing with you, Dave, and good luck to you this weekend. Looks like we got my buddy Steele in the chat. Hi, Seth. What's up, Steele? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing all right. He's up by that by Erie Lake, so he's getting some of that lake effect weather right now. So hopefully you're doing all right up there, Steele. And we got Wendy saying Angie is freaking awesome. Well, she's here at the IBT podcast, so I'm guessing she is awesome. And speaking of awesome, how about Albert in the chat already?
Albert.
Good evening, IBT. Good evening to you, Albert. We appreciate you, man. Guys, I just want to say thank you for all the support this season. We're continuing to set some record numbers over on the website. It's just insane. Every time I go over there and I look at our analytics, I'm blown away. And it's because of you guys liking videos, supporting us here on the YouTube, subscribing to the channel, and heading over to the website, inbetweenmedia.com. Thank you guys so much. And before we jump in, I do want to address just a couple things that happened in the fantasy football community over the weekend. Kind of put some bad vibes out there for me, my team, and just kind of everyone in general. And I kind of just wanted to address that. Some of you guys know, Dez Bryant, former Cowboys receiver, did kind of enter the industry over the summer. He was at the Fantasy Football Expo. Everyone was really excited about it. And he sent some pretty rude and misogynistic tweets over the weekend and making women in this community feel less than. And, you know, I'm not interested in condemning people. We all make mistakes. We know that. Forgiveness is part of it, and we have to show some forgiveness. But I also won't stand for disrespecting women of any type here. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a former NFL player, if you're, you know, just anybody. That's not fucking cool. Everyone deserves to talk sports, engage in this community. And as I kind of said in our Twitter statement, like, let's be the spark and not the extinguisher. Eric, you kind of know this better. Unfortunately, you were a part of the High Point Media group that Des had put on, and I know you're really excited to be a part of that and really intrigued with what he was doing. But unfortunately, you did have to step away after, you know, the events over the weekend.
Yeah, well, I chose to step away because I don't want to be associated with someone who is clearly, you know, thinking of women and others in that sort of light, right? Like the beauty of this space is that it is for everyone, right? Like inclusivity is one of the founding tenets of the fantasy football space in my mind.
Yeah.
So your point, you know, rings perfectly true that everyone makes mistakes and that, you know, hopefully there's you know, some lessons learned and some good that can come of this. But for me, when it comes to something like this, it's kind of a binary, right? Like you either view all people as equals or you don't. So, you know, hopefully with the backlash and the fallout, you know, some good changes can be implemented over there as a result of it. But you know, based on what was said and subsequently doubled and tripled down on, it seemed like there was there was some misalignment with the things that I hold to be you know, true and valuable in this space. So stepped away. You know, there are a lot of people that are hanging back that are trying to be the force of change and the force of good within that organization. I certainly hope that's the case. But, for me, like everything that I've enjoyed about this space and want to see out of this space is in kind of direct contrast with statements like, it's a man's game, or you have to have your hand in the dirt, or any
Right.
of those tropes and dog whistles that were thrown out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I respect that decision, man. And, I know it was an easy one, but that's why we love you over here, because you do hold your values true to yourself. So thank you for that, man. And just want everyone to know, like, whoever you are, whether you're a part of any minority group, a woman, whatever, we're going to have your back here at IBT, man. Like that's what we are. We want to be here for everyone, because this is a game for everybody. I also just kind of wanted to quickly address a tweet that was out there today that kind of a buzzkill also, like, and it was kind of just felt like it was speaking in absolutes about content creators and what they should be doing. And like, listen, man, everyone in this space is different. We all have our own journeys. We have our own stories. And sometimes you don't know what goes into someone's story. And, when we put tweets out there, like, let's just think about that a little bit more. Like, consider that when you say something like, hey, all fantasy football creators should not be working for free, everyone's on a different level. Every company's on a different level as well. And, instead of judging, let's just have a conversation with people. Let's get to know them. Let's hear these stories. Big or small, a lot goes into fantasy football content creation, how a company creates and handles its affairs. As long as it's not corrupt, like, it's their business. Jay, I know you've worked in a lot of companies from big to small in this industry. So anything you want to add on just these situations in general, and any insight? Because I know you have a lot of great insight over there, my friend.
Yeah. So I understand the idea of not working for free, because everybody's time is valuable. Everybody's got skills that
Absolutely.
they deserve to be compensated for their time. Depending on where you're looking to go, getting paid right off the bat might not be a viable option. If you're looking to make it in this space, have no experience, there's a good chance you're not going to get paid right off the bat. So I started out not getting paid for, I was working with Going for Two, and Eric, you worked with Going for Two as well.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
And, it was never, it was never an expectation. It was never asked, what do we get, like, based on clicks or something like that for some ad revenue, which was, like 1,000 views, I think you get a couple pennies or something like that. Or it was nothing extensive, but the skills I gained while being there, it really honed my writing, my editing, my leadership skills and stuff like that. That's just as valuable. I know not everybody has the ability to put the time in to be able to get those skills, but same thing when I was with Front Yard Fantasy, the first year or so, didn't get paid, but that was I knew that going in. And it's, I wouldn't trade the skills and the life lessons for anything that I learned.
I appreciate that, man. And, I think that's the big thing, man. Like, so many people in this industry are willing to share some of their expertise, some of their education. And that's the one big thing I like, just being transparent, that I can offer a lot of our staff members here is, hey, I'm going to give you 110% of me. I'm going to help you as far as editing. I'm going to help you become a better writer. I'm going to help you produce some kick-ass shows. So, that was just my thought on it. Hoov, any final thoughts to add before we bring the good vibes and get some fantasy football here?
I love women, so I love people getting paid, but I love people working for it. So I love love.
Oh yeah, that's
my statement.
I love lamp.
I love lamp. I love women. I love love. I love kindness. I don't like people talking out of their ass.
Yes, and we love Brees Hall as well. Let's keep that in mind. Looks like we got Didi saying, "Why I love the IBT family." We appreciate you, Didi. And Joey in the chat tonight. What's up, Joey? Good to see you. Said I came for Jay Felicio, but I'm staying for Seth's mustache. Got a lot of mixed reviews on it. Went, saw the family this weekend. Got some mixed reviews on it. Hoov, I think you called me Jeff Foxworthy a couple weeks ago.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Yeah. I got a couple. I got a couple different.
Seth,
not as good comps.
There's one opinion that matters in the whole situation, and what does she think?
Hey, she's about it. She's about some mustache.
Then who cares what anybody else says? That's all that matters.
I heard a comedian once talk about like whatever facial hair you have, you basically based it off of the four big comedians in the 90s. I forget who it was that talked about it, but it was like You go with the stash, you're Foxworthy. You go with the goatee, you're Larry the Cable Guy. And I forget what the other two were, but yeah, they're like this whole skit on it. It was funny. That's what made me think of it.
We got Angie saying, haha, Joey looking good, or looking good, Seth. I feel like a little effort that could develop into a full-on porn stash. We're going to keep rocking it. We're going to see where it's gone. I've never really grew it out this far, so we're going to see what happens. A little love from Dee Dee and Angie and Dave in the chat goes a long way, so I appreciate it, guys. And Joey also saying, if I never started working for free to get the experience, I would have never landed a full-time role. That's what it's about, man. Yep. And like seeing these experiences, like I met Joey a couple years ago at the fantasy football industry when he was kind of first getting into this. And just to see this guy's growth and this guy's glow up in this industry has been awesome. And like, that's what it's about. So like, let's not be gatekeepers. Let's just enjoy, embrace, have conversations with people because we're all in this together. And speaking of all in together, guys, we do have some fantasy football to talk about and some week 17 matchups to talk about. So let's do it here in headline Hyjynx. Let's get to it. All right, headline Hyjynx. So we're kind of taking a page out of last week's books. Even though my predictions were god-awful last week, we're going to try this again. We're going to write New Year's headlines and Week 17 headlines written today. And Jay, I'm going to start with you, our fellow guest. What do you have for us? What do you see going down here in week number 17?
So we did go with a New Year's theme. I don't know if you mentioned that or not while I was pulling up my notes, but let me see where I'm at. Ringing in the Nacua year. Yes, the wonderful Mr. Puka Nacua who helped me go to actually the championships that I'm in. I have him in every single one of those leagues. Nice. Shocker. And he went for 168 yards 64 yards last week. He only needs, let me pull up these notes, 129 receiving yards to break the rookie record set by Jamar Chase in 2021.
Wow.
I think he does it this week, against my New York Football Giants who, it's been a bit of a lost season with everything that's gone on, but the Rams are one of those teams. I know everybody's saying the Rams and the Bills are two teams that if they're able to sneak in the playoffs, watch out because they're not even at full health. Cooper Kupp does not look right. He just out there, every time he gets up, he looks like he's kind of struggling. He doesn't look healthy, but Kyren Williams with Nacua, Kupp, Matthew Stafford looks like Stafford from a few years ago. I think that they're going to have a big game there. They can't afford to take their foot off the gas pedal. So they're going to, no matter what the Giants offense does, they're going to put a lot of points up on the board. And the Giants defense, while it's been a mixed bag, they've played better as of late.
Better.
You can still, there's some hope for the future, but they're still going to put up plenty of fantasy points. And I think Puka breaks the record this week.
Eric, we've picked on this Giants secondary a shit ton this season. Adoree Jackson's been, really the guy in the crosshairs there. But Deonte Banks kind of came on a little bit last week. He was actually playing really well before he ended up getting injured. And then when he went out of that game, AJ Brown started going off. So are you on Nacua this week? And I don't know if you have your rankings done yet for the week, but what range do you have him in?
Yeah, Nacua is definitely going to be pretty high up in the wide receiver 2 range for me.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with the analysis that you just offered, right? We've been going after the turnstile of the Giants secondary all season long. Shout out, like perfectly spot on in terms of Deonte Banks. The thing that's problematic there, yes, he played pretty well to start that game, but consistency, as I'm sure Jay can tell you, hasn't exactly been his strong suit, right? So he'll show some flashes. He'll show why the Giants invested some solid draft capital in him, and then all of a sudden he'll look like he's still got a long way to go, right? So I think the stronger play is the exception as opposed to the rule, right? So we should see plenty of Nacua in a game that Matt Stafford and these boys, like they're really looking to carry this momentum into the playoffs. So that should mean a ton of Puka Nacua in week 17.
Hell yeah. Hoov, what do you have for us as far as week 17 and New Year's headlines?
All right, I got 2 of them, but I'll focus on one at the moment. I got January. Let's do that one. So Bijan Robinson, you just saw him last week. Arthur Smith's finally utilizing him as that RB1 that we all been waiting for. And we know that Arthur Smith's playing for his job right now, So I think that Bijan going back-to-back weeks, finishing off the season strong, going against the Bears defense, gimme. All right. I know they're playing a little better since they got Montez Sweat, but I think that you've seen it throughout the year that there's been some running backs that have really popped off against this Bears defense. So I'm loving it. I'm all on Bijan. I've been in love with Bijan since day one before he was drafted. So we're going to ride it out at the end of the season. January.
Any concerns for you, Jay, at all on Bijan? We're still seeing a shit ton of Tyler Algier, which is kind of a bummer, but we are kind of seeing the emergence here. I credit anyone who has Bijan in any leagues and is this far because I don't. Every league I took him early, I'm out of. Any Bijan for you left and any concerns this week, Jay?
I do have some Bijan, and I
Okay.
acquired him mid-season, so that was
Okay.
so that helped out. I didn't have to deal
Smart.
with some of the struggles early on. But my only concern with Bijan is Arthur Smith, as we all know. I don't understand how this guy has a head coaching job. But I am with Hoov. I think he's gonna, and that's part of the reason why I traded for Bijan mid-season is the matchups in the fantasy playoffs are just fantastic. So even if he's not getting the workload that he should, if he's just, lately Arthur Smith has been giving a little more work. He's still a little too friendly with Cordero Patterson and Tyler Algier, but Bijan's the type of guy in these type good matchup. He can take one to the house every single time.
But here's the real kicker. All right. Because I'm sorry for cutting you off, but here's the real kicker. You're talking about Arthur Smith. The fact that it's the fantasy championships for most people is when he's going to do it. He's not going to do it during the playoffs. He's going to do it during the championships. Like, haha, I could have done this the whole year, you suckers, but you're all sitting at home watching people win just of me.
Or the opposite. Or the opposite. He could also give him like 3 carries and say he has a headache.
You already got. You did get.
I hope not because I need him.
So,
I need him. But I'm with you.
I'm going against him in a couple of leagues, so I'm kind of rooting against this to happen. But I feel like you're on the right track, gentlemen. Eric, I'll throw it over to you. What is your headline here for week number 17 and the new year?
Yeah, I'll double down on Bijan. Specifically, his role as a receiver is going to play a huge part in what he does this week in fantasy. The Bears are tough against the run, but they are hemorrhaging yards, receiving yards out of the backfield. So he pretty much has that receiving back role locked up. Like him to continue on the hot streak in week 17, as well as the player who is the subject of my headline, the young and the restless. Last week, our guy Bryce Young, he was the benefactor of the Joe Barry matchup against the Hoov Packers up there, and he looked like a solid NFL quarterback, kind of out of nowhere, right? He put up his best performance of the year, 312 yards passing, almost 9 yards per catch that he gave out there. He had the 2 passing touchdowns, but better yet, like he was getting through his progressions. He was very much so throwing the ball into tight windows and with anticipation. Like he showed a lot of the promise that made him the number 1 overall pick. And this week he steps right back into a beautiful matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are tied for 3rd most passing yards per game allowed in the league. So I actually like Bryce Young to get up over 300 yards again this week, which will put him over 3,000 yards on the rookie season. So all of this should not only be fun to watch as a storyline in week 17, but for anyone who is hanging on to Bryce Young shares in Dynasty, should make them feel a little bit better heading into the offseason.
Yeah, fair enough. And Eric, hats off to you. You did call a pretty good game for him last week. You were excited about Jonathan Mingo. It didn't come fruition from Mingo, but DJ Chark took all the vote. Yeah.
DJ Chark, DJ Chark,
back to life, my guy.
Take Trowbridge, baby.
All right, I will take it over here, and I'm going to take a shot here at one of Jay's guys, so I apologize, but my headline for week number 17 written today, Saquon shits the bed before the ball drops, and I know you're starting Saquon. Like, you're automatically going to start him. He's RB9 on a points per game basis, so don't downgrade him where he's out of your lineup, but I just think we need to have reasonable expectations. for whatever reason, the way the Rams are playing, how dynamic this offense has been, they're getting ahead and it's hurting the running backs on opposing teams. Right now, they're the toughest matchup for opposing running backs over the past 4 weeks. That's really what I'm paying attention to. I don't pay attention to as much like fantasy points against the position for the season at this point. It's more the last month. What have you done for me lately? And allowing 3.6 yards per carry and just 1 receiving touchdown to running backs in that time, no rushing touchdown. That's been against running backs like Alvin Kamara last week, the Washington backfield without Brian Robinson, so not the best there. But then we saw Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt limited, and then the Baltimore running backs had a pretty bad week against them as well. So you're starting him, but there's only been 1 running back to go over 75 rushing yards. That was CMC in week number 2. So just value him a little bit differently. It's a quarterback carousel. I don't think we have confirmation who's going to be the starter, whether it's going to be Tommy Cutlets or whether it's going to be Tyrod Taylor out there. But either way, maximize the upside around him. I have him on a team and I'm trying to make other start-sit decisions to realize, hey, I might get 9 to 11 points here from Saquon Barkley. So that's my thought on your guy, Saquon Barkley. Jay, are you as hesitant or reluctant to put him in your lineup as I am this week?
No, I think everything you said is completely valid. The one thing I'll say that works in Saquon's favor is the lack of receiving options for the Giants. So, when they get in that catch-up mode, he's going to be just as involved in the passing game as any of the receivers. We did get Darren Waller back at tight end, but he really hasn't done much since he's been back. I think it's going to be Taylor. I hope it's Taylor. I go back and forth. I think the best chance for them to win, which I don't want them to, is Taylor. But, Tommy Cutlets isn't the future of the Giants. It was Linsanity for 2023 in the NFL. So, I mean, it was a fun story. It was never realistic for him to be the long-term option. So, I think whoever starts at quarterback really doesn't matter because Saquon is the focal point. He gets so much volume. Even, if he doesn't get many yards per carry, he's going to get, let me see, 23 carries last week. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 20 targets. Yeah, it's 6
23 carries. The week before, he only had 9 carries, but then 20, 12, 14, 13, 16. So he's getting 15 plus carries. He's getting the targets. And if they get in the in the red zone, he's going to have a good chance of scoring as well. So I think you're right. I think that the ceiling is capped, but I think the floor is decently high where, you're probably looking at least double digits. And if he's able to get in the end zone, a decent day.
All right. Hoov, I'm coming back to you, man. What's your other headline here for week number 17?
All right. I'm going to need you to explain this one because you're going to break it down a lot better than I can because you know this team better than I do. But new year, new Metcalf. New year, new me. Y'all see it. You go, people go on the timeline, new year, new me. I'm going to break that habit, but this is
They never do. They never do.
Let's see if that something works. Does it? No, it doesn't. I don't know what that was.
You cancel that gym membership by March, and we all know it. All right. Or even if you don't,
you stop going, you just continue to pay for it.
That's right. So no new year, new me, new year, new Metcalf. So we got DK Metcalf and the Seahawks going against Seth's Pittsburgh Steelers. I know he's converting to being a Jets fan a little bit, but he's got some homage to them Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. So he could break it down why that linebacking core is just mid, why that cornerback crew is just mid. Joey Porter's a dog, but mid overall. And then you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's out this week or questionable to be out. So I think DK Metcalf capitalize on that and eats up all over Pittsburgh's D.
Well, let's just say we got Patrick Peterson playing safety right now. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know. He actually played really good safety last week. He had an interception. Like, hats off to Pat P for throwing it back a little bit. But, like, that's just kind of the status in Pittsburgh right now. Levi Wallace, a little bit better last week. But, I mean, you saw T. Higgins, what he did to this team. He's kind of a similar profile to DK Metcalf, big play wide receiver. So I'm expecting some big plays from DK Metcalf. I'm here with you. And for as much as I love Joey Porter, he has a tendency to get burned and he has a tendency to give up the PI. So if it's not a long touchdown to Metcalf, it's going to be passing interference. They're going to get it on the one. Maybe it's a tush push. Maybe it's Kenneth Walker up the gut. Eric, I know you're very big into the cornerback wide receiver matchup realm. Any hesitancy on DK Metcalf, or is it green thumbs all the way around for you as well?
I mean, to an extent, right? He'll see the most of Joey Porter Jr. out of anyone else in that secondary. But as did T. Higgins last week, right? Like, Joey Porter Jr. is not at a point where he's shadowing yet. Even when someone shadows, it's usually like 55, 60,
Yeah.
65% of routes, right? So in the routes that he's running, not in his coverage, he'll see Levi Wallace, who is the one who gave up that huge play to T. Higgins last week, right? So and even when he is being covered by Joey Porter Jr., there are certain guys that are just athletic freaks of nature that at minimum a good corner is kind of like a neutral matchup for them. DK Metcalf is certainly one of those players, right? So there might be kind of a spiky sort of week 17 for him where it feels like he's not doing much for a while, and then all of a sudden he'll get 3 of the next 4 passes going his way. So could be for could set up for a bit of a sweat in this game against the Steelers, but ultimately I think DK is going to have a solid week.
All right. I need it. I got him in the championship in my home league as well. $1,200 on the line. I don't even care about the money. I was texting my brother. I beat him last week. I was like, I just want to win this fucking league. I've been playing in this league, the variation of it now since 2016. It's really what got me like really, really back into fantasy. I just want to win this so bad. So hopefully DK Metcalf takes me to the promised land. New year, new Metcalf. I'll round us out here in headline Hyjynx with my second headline. I'm going back to the T Swift references because she's so damn catchy. The last great American Dynasty returns for real this time. Listen, I called for the Chiefs explosion game last week. I thought that was going to be it against the Raiders. I don't know what the hell happened. It was disjointed. I couldn't believe what I was watching. The offensive line got banged up. I felt like as soon as a couple more linemen went down, it was no good. But at the end of the day, if this Chiefs team can't beat up on a Bengals team that just let Mason Rudolph torch them left and right, then we have some real concerns. So I rolled into a Permane Brothers for the first time in years last week. I live in Eastern PA now, so I'm surrounded by Eagles fans. I roll in there. All the Lurs fans are there. They got Busch Light on tap. I'm having a damn good time, and I just get to watch my boy George Pickens, the Lurs, go to work against the Bengals. And right now, this is a team top 5 matchup for tight ends and wide receivers over the past month, top 6 against quarterbacks over the past month, and still allowing 4.7 yards per carry. That's the second highest clip to running backs right now as well, Jay. Are you expecting the Kansas City explosion, or is this just not that Chiefs team and we're never going to see it even against this cake matchup against the Bengals?
I do think it's going to be more towards the normal. I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs that we've seen the past couple of years because as much as I hate to say it, sorry, T Swift, but your boyfriend's lost a step or two.
No.
He's just not, I don't think he's ever gotten fully healthy from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
He's getting up there in age, and he said before during the season, he said that he's been contemplating retirement for a while now because he's battled so many injuries. And without teams don't have to put as much coverage on him as they have in years past.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do they have to worry about? I like Rashee Rice a lot in this in the future, but they can, get guys a little more towards him. That's it. Like there's nobody else on this team that you have to worry about. Jerick McKinnon's not going to be there. Pacheco probably isn't going to play. So you're looking at CEH, who he had a good game this week, but I do, the matchup is great. I think that there's going to be multiple, somewhat of a vintage Mahomes game where you're going to see multiple touchdowns, close to 300 yards, but I don't think you're going to have that out of the, game-winning, fantasy matchup breaking type of performance that we've seen in years past from Mahomes.
Okay. All right. Do we have a birthday here? Sven in the chat saying happy birthday, buddy.
No, we're birthday buddies. We're born on the same day. And actually, we found out we're born on the same day within like a few hours of each other. We're born on Long Island. We literally found out the hospitals that we were born in were like literally within a 10-mile radius of each other.
Wait, are you telling us that you and Sven were actually swapped at birth?
Yes.
Is this what happened here?
Actually, have you seen us both in the same room in the past 2 years?
No, I have not actually. You were not at the expo this year, so no.
I know. So yeah, but yeah, that's my birthday, buddy.
Okay, I love it. Dee saying in the chat, that was a sad game. I was disappointed in Kansas City this weekend. I was with you, Didi. Very disappointing to see it. And saying, I hope Kansas City pulls it back together. Yeah, it looks like we got 2 cooks in the chat. Didi's a great cook, and then we got our chef Sven there as well. So good to have some. I'll tell you what, I can't eat anymore. I ate way too much fucking food this weekend. I felt like shit waking up today. I don't know how you guys feel. Jay, you got a year or 2 on me. Eric, you got a year or 2 on Hoov and I. Were you guys feeling as shitty as I was? Like Christmas on a Monday, not as fun. Not as fun.
Especially since I was up the night before putting together things and helping Santa get ready, and and the kids wake up bright and early, and it's yeah. So on top of that, also not much sleep. So yeah, that's why I was asleep at 10 o'clock yesterday.
Eric, same for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Santa's Little Helpers is an army that stretches across the world. So a lot of late Christmas Eve nights that are immediately greeted by kids waking up 2, 3, 4 hours after that. So Christmas Day, I mean, it's a ton of fun, but it's always a slog.
Right.
Do you guys have like a deadline where you say, hey, you can't wake up before X amount of time? Because my parents would always say, if you wake up before 8, every hour you wake up before, you lose 1 present. Is there any rules, or do you just, your kids are kind of young, so you probably just go with it, huh?
Do you think that either of us are in any sense of control of our households?
No, not at all. It's
We,
Lord
at
of the
least for
Flies.
me, we absolutely set those guidelines, right? Like, remember, if the sun's not coming through your window, you might scare away Santa. Like, you got to stay in your room. And they're
Actually,
like, at like 3:50 in the morning, they're like, I snuck down the hallway and I didn't scare anybody away.
Yep, it's fun. Eric and I are actually just having this conversation the other day on the phone. Yeah, that doesn't happen. My son is up at 5:30, no matter what I try, and the problem is you can only do so much because he'll be 5 January 4th, and
Okay.
yeah,
Oh.
there's no sense of control. So
I do not think I could get up at 5:30 anytime soon. So I appreciate you guys. Any kids on the way for you yet, or are we still, you and I still kicking it kidless for a couple of years now yet?
I think my face says it all. Honestly. I don't think so.
put it this
No.
way, I Christmas Eve I was gifted a Apple Watch, and I did the whole sleep thing to see how many hours I slept and all that. I got 18 minutes of deep sleep. So let's put it that way.
Yo,
18 minutes.
That's not bad.
I wasn't proud.
Not
Like
bad.
I was like double-digit minutes. Like I'll take it.
Holy hell. Well, I appreciate you guys. Let's move forward in the show so we can get you guys to bed and get you a little sleep tonight. Let's answer the people's questions in from the forum.
If you're up stuck, think about what to do. Here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say. Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
All right. I got to shout out the Fantasy Football Night Advice Network for powering this segment and our Fantasy Football Mailbag article each and every week during the regular season. And these guys are a blast. They're a great group of gentlemen who are putting together a platform that if you need fantasy football advice, well, hey, go to fantasyfootballadvice.com. It's that easy. It combines other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, you name it. And, I don't have space for those apps. I don't have time to scroll those apps. But when I want to get advice, when I want to quickly give other people in this community advice, I go over to the Fantasy Football Advice Network and I give it to them. It's free to join. I highly, highly recommend it. They got league classifieds. I was watching a show earlier and I was in the chat over on the CBS stream, and someone was like, hey, I have no competitive leagues. I'm tired of playing in public league. And I was like, well, go over to the Fantasy Football Advice Network and log in, create an account, and then you can actually see classifieds, join some leagues over there. So fantasyfootballadvice.com, the Fantasy Football Advice Network. We appreciate them sponsoring this segment. And if you guys have any questions for week number 17 and how we can help you, put that in the chat. We'll bring up a couple questions from the forum, except Toronto Dave. Do not put any questions in about our matchup, buddy, because I'm going to give you some bad advice. I'll promise you that.
Shoot me a DM, Dave. I got you.
Don't do it, Jay. Don't do it. Here's a question from our guy, JZ Mudio over there at the Fantasy Football Advice Network. What's your favorite defense / special teams for championship weeks? The Rams, Raiders, or Chiefs? Jay, any thoughts on this? Like, these are all defenses. Like, I think they all have their warts a little bit. Like Kansas City, great at getting pressure, but they seem to give up a lot of points. And same with the Rams. Like the Rams get no turnovers. They're not very high in sack rate, but they're still a solid DST. And the Raiders have just been hot as hell lately. Can you get away from them and go with one of these other defenses?
It's really tough. I don't like playing defenses that are kind of borderline when they're on the road, and you get that situation with both the Rams and the Raiders. The Rams at the Giants, Raiders at the Colts. With Minshew is kind of gone down. He's definitely a roller coaster, and he's been more towards the valleys and the hills here recently. I do think I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and even though as a whole the team hasn't been that great, the defense has been one of the strong points in this team. And the Bengals, they might be without Jamar Chase still. They, after this loss that they took to the Raiders, they are going to be one pissed off team. I would not want to be the Bengals going into Arrowhead. So the tiebreaker for me, I like all the matchups between the three. I think the Chiefs are the best defense in real life out of the three, and they're at home. So that's kind of the tiebreaker for me.
Hoov, any thoughts for you here? We've seen the defensive line kind of come alive for the Rams lately. Kobe Turner, Byron Young have more sacks than Aaron Donald this season, 6 each. But still, bottom 3 in takeaways, as we kind of said. I think the Chiefs, as Jay said, is probably the best, safest matchup here. Or are you shooting for sky high with one of these other players?
Frankly, I think that my dad's actually a Chiefs fan, so I'll break it down from that. We just talked about the Chiefs-Raiders game. So, even as him as a Chiefs fan, he told me that Chris Jones doesn't shed a light to the talent that Max Crosby is. And I was like, really? That's crazy for you to admit that. So I understand the Raiders are a hot team right now, but I think that process by elimination, I think I'm just going to eliminate the Raiders. And then the Chiefs, like you pointed out, that it's going to come down to the defense if they're going to want to overcome these offensive struggles. Like the wide receivers besides Rashee Rice aren't standing out. Me personally, I'm a CEH believer, baby. I think that the experience is going to come in. I think that Pacheco, while he's been banged up, that I think that he's really going to ride on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like we're seeing 31-year-old JD not being able to do much right now. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like he's being able to make some plays, in Pacheco's absence, So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs defense put on a show, this next week and allowed Patrick Mahomes to not have as much pressure on his back, to make a few plays and not stress it too much. I think that's a focal point of the Chiefs right now, is that they're all too fucking stressed. They all need to relax. The focus needs to get back on football because they're playing messy. And once they stop playing messy, I really do think that this team could make a push still in the playoffs.
Okay.
So I'll go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
I'll agree with Jay.
Eric, any digression from you? The Raiders are now the DST4 on the season after scoring 57 points the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be real hard to replicate what they did over these last 2 weeks. If you spread that out over the course of the season and kind of normalize for that, they're much more middle of the pack. I tend to agree that Max Crosby is an absolute monster, and Gardner Minshew has kind of that gunslinger mentality. So there could be some turnovers there, but really for me, I think the most talented defense of the slot is the Chiefs. They do have the benefit of playing at home. And also, they apply pressure at a pretty good rate, the 8th most pressure applied on the season, right? So you think about a guy in Jake Browning who, kind of came back to earth. His insanity ride sort of ended last season, showed that, he's willing to press the ball down the field, but into some tighter windows than he probably should. And if we're thinking about Jamar Chase likely missing this game, which is the current projection, that's going to leave L'Jarius Sneed to just put the clamps on T. Higgins, right? So I think it's going to be a long day at Arrowhead for Browning and for the Bengals offense. So I'll go with the Chiefs of this group.
Okay. I think the Chiefs are the safe bet, but if you want a team with some upside, I think the Rams really could. They could beat the Chiefs. I think the Raiders are the lowest out of the three, but the Rams, in my opinion, they could be a sneaky team this week.
You know they're going to get the sacks against the Giants' offensive line. Justin Pugh got
Right.
hurt,
Yep.
and they started to solidify somewhat when we signed Justin Pugh off the couch, and I'm not sure if he's going to miss the game or not. But whether it's Tyrod, whether it's Tommy Cutlets, you would not be surprised to see some turnovers. And
Yes,
those can turn to touchdowns.
I'm with you there. And if you need a defense and none of these are available, maybe look at Buffalo, 49ers, Browns. I think those are the consensus top 3 right now. I know Buffalo's still out there in a lot of leagues, so if you can go after them, that's probably who I'd recommend against the Patriots. We got Dave in the chat saying, don't tempt me now. What players does Seth hate the most? I'll see if I can start them. Start Sin Seth will be out on Friday, so you can check that out, Dave, and I'll have my players that I'd sit, and you go ahead and fire them up against me, and I'm sure they'll go off just to spite me, just like Zay Flowers did on Monday night. So here's one from our guy Sven. If Keenan Allen is back, is he a must start for you, Jay? Easton Hockey Stick has looked mediocre, and his other option is your guy Puka Nacua. Kind of hard to get away from Puka in a matchup you love for Easton Stick here against Denver, Patrick Surtain and the boys.
Yeah, I'm starting Puka here, and I love Keenan. I think he is, especially if Justin Herbert was there, he's in one of those guys that if he's starting, he's playing. Easton Stick, he looked a lot better this past week against Buffalo, not starting on a short week, getting thrown in there. But a lot of it, he was running the ball. They had some designed runs for him, and he was getting some cheap production off of that. He ran in a touchdown. Passing wasn't quite there. I don't know what his stats were. Let me pull it up real quick. I like the Easton Hockey Stick though. That's pretty good. No passing touchdowns. He threw for 215 yards on 33 attempts. Yeah, I'm still starting Puka. I think I'd be fine getting Keenan in my lineup if there's another place, a flex, another option that potentially could get benched, but there's no way that I'm going to bench Keenan Allen for Puka.
Any digression from you, Eric? Because I'm in lockstep with Jay.
Excuse me. Start Keenan Allen over Puka.
Okay.
I said bench.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm right there with the two of you, right? We've already sung Puka's praises earlier in the show. I mean, look, Keenan Allen is probably in like the flex conversation if he returns, but Puka Nacua this week is going to be a good 10 dozen spots higher than him when we come around to ranking Keenan Allen, right? So, given those choices, it's certainly Puka.
Okay, Sven saying his other wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra in that league.
Yeah.
So either Puka or Keenan is my one decision
Sven
to
just
make.
wants to brag about his roster.
Yeah,
you got a good team, Sven. We get it.
Every listener of this show or member of our staff has these dynamite teams, and I'm just like, I should not be in charge of this company because these people have way better teams than me. I'll tell you that right now. So
I also got Christian McCaffrey. And,
he's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got Jalen Hurts on this one for sure. Well, guys, let's go ahead. Let's round out the show. Let's talk a little college football, a little dynasty now. Let's round it out here with In the Scope.
I have the stars in my sights.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the Scope.
In the Scope is usually our waivers a week early segment. But hey, we only got 1 week left. At least, hopefully. I hope no one's playing. I haven't heard anyone playing in week 18. Do any of you guys have any week 18 matchups?
No.
Okay.
No.
Learned their lesson a couple years ago. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't want to play into week 18. If you do, if that's your jam, good on you. And I hope you have fun with it. But we're going to talk a little bit about college and talk about some incoming rookies. And it's very interesting in these bowl games because a lot of them, we're not going to see a lot of these NFL draft prospects. A lot of them are going to opt out of the game, especially after what happened to Jake Butt from Michigan a couple of years ago, getting very, very injured in one of these bowl games that didn't mean a lot. So we're going to be talking about some of these players who could move up or down our incoming dynasty rankings. And Jay, I'm going to hand it over to you first, man. Who is someone that you're going to be keeping an eye on here down the stretch here in the college football season?
So full disclosure, I am not a huge college football fan, so I don't have some super deep guy or anything like that. I do know the top names. One guy that I am interested in is Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU, in the ReliaQuest Bowl, the Pepsi Mountain Dew Doritos Bowl, or whatever they call them now these days. And the main reason is he's got a chance to overtake Drake May as the number 2 quarterback in this class. I understand why May isn't going to play. He's locked in as a first round pick potentially. There's some people that say he even could be the first pick off the board. I wouldn't go that far, but winning the Heisman, if Daniels is able to come in this game and just absolutely dominate like he has this season, there's a chance he could surpass May, and I think that has a chance to solidify his spot in the first round. I hope he slides to the second because there's a chance that the Giants could go after him in the second round if they don't go a quarterback in the first round. But I'm interested to see if he can do enough to make that jump over May.
Okay.
Is he playing?
That's what I read as of today.
Yes, I believe he is. He is going to be suiting up for this one.
Versus Wisconsin.
LSU? Who?
Don't they play Wisconsin?
I think you might be right. Is that who is that what the ReliaQuest Bowl is going on here? Full disclosure, I did not look at the Yep, you're right here. Yep.
Yeah, because I think I was kind of worried. I'm obviously a Badgers fan being from Wisconsin, and I was really hoping that Jaden Daniels didn't play in this game because I agree. I think that 100% that Jaden Daniels, people wanted to talk so highly about Drake May, but I'm starting to fade off of it. I think that people are going to look for the more raw athleticism out of Jaden Daniels, and he could rise up the draft boards, and someone could go higher. But just his game, I don't know why he would want to play in a game like the ReliaQuest Bowl versus the Badgers. The Badgers are probably going to lose. They're probably going to win.
Unless I got bad info.
So I bet he's going to have a good game, but more or less, like for his draft stock, I'm surprised that he's not skipping and deciding to just like ball at the combine. Because the combine, like Anthony Richardson last year, is where he's going to really show that athleticism. And athleticism is, boom, at the combine. That's all they care about. Who has the flashy moments? So Jaden Daniels is going to be that guy.
I got bad information.
Oh, no.
He's not starting. So
fake. Here's what I'll say. I'll defend Jay, though. I don't know if we see Daniels at the Senior Bowl, but there is a chance he is a fifth-year guy, if I'm correct on that. So it's probably, he's going to be invited. Whether he goes or not and shows up in Mobile will be interesting. We usually don't get that high profile of a quarterback there, but I think Daniels is one that we have to keep an eye on heading into this offseason because he probably could move up the ranks as like AR last time this year. No one was talking about him, and then all of a sudden he was kind of up there towards the top. So
I was.
I did preface with I'm not a college football guy, so
hey,
I apologize for the mistake. I looked to see, but the site that I found said he was. But
I wasn't trying to call you out. I
would rather get the right information out there than put the wrong information.
Let's shame Jay. Shame. No, I'm just kidding. Eric, let's go over to you, man. Who are you watching as we head down the stretch in the college football bowl season?
Yeah, so check out my super deep, highfalutin dynasty pick because I'm a crazy college football guy, unlike Jay. No, actually, I'm probably closer to Jay's end of the spectrum. But the player that I'm going to be watching is Xavier Restrepo, the dynamic slot wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes. They're playing in Yankee Stadium in the Pinstripe Bowl against Rutgers this week. You're right that it's a relatively short list of kind of premier pro prospects that are playing in their bowl games, as has become tradition. But Restrepo's one that's super interesting. He's right on the cusp of 1,000 yards this year. He's got 5 receiving touchdowns. And one of the things I like is he hasn't declared yet. So I kind of get the sense that he's probably going to see if he helps his draft stock in this game. And if it helps it enough, then make the declaration after the game. So expect him to be fully motivated and really trying to showcase what he can do. He's kind of an interesting prospect. He's 5'10". He lines up in the slot a ton, but he's almost 200 pounds. Like he's kind of a bowling ball out there. And even still, he's projected to run in the low 4.4s. So he's got good straight line speed. He's real quick off of the line. He can create separation around the line of scrimmage, but also he can run under deep balls and really, really pull in some splashy home run type plays. So he's realistically probably more of like a day 2 or day 3 guy if he does go to the draft this year. But he's one of those guys that is super reliable. He can be a safety blanket for a young quarterback. He does a lot of things well in terms of his role in special teams, his ability to block, just like the things that are going to get him playing time if he gets drafted as a day 2 or day 3 option. So a little bit more of a deeper dart throw for sure, but a guy that I think is going to be highly motivated and if he plays well, could maybe sneak in as like a 3rd or 4th round rookie pick when we get to April.
He's a junior, right?
He's a senior.
Yeah.
He's a
He's
senior.
a senior. But
Yeah.
He's got
eligible to
1
go
year
back?
left. Excuse me.
Yeah. He's got the 1 year of eligibility, and I think he will probably go to the draft. Like, I don't know why you're coming back to play at Miami. Like, we saw kind of what this program's about when they blew that lead when they could have just taken some knees. Like, I'm with you there, Eric. I think this is a really interesting prospect, and he's one of those players. Every time you watch him, he pops, and I feel like the quarterback does pretty well when targeting him. 101.6 rating when being targeted, which is pretty good for Miami quarterbacks here. So I'm interested in it. I can get behind it. I'm about it. Hoov, I know you have a little bit of a higher profile receiver that you're going to be watching here in the college football playoffs more specifically.
I don't even think he's like a high profile. I think he's kind of a dart throw too. Like for him, like that we just talked about. Pull the name up one more time. Yeah, for Xavier, like that kind of the same vibe. Like it's a very stacked wide receiver draft class, and if he has that 1 year eligibility, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back like this player that I have. He was a top name, and he decided that he was going to go back 1 more year and really prove his stock. So my guy is Jermaine Burton, wide receiver out of Alabama. I think that in the Rose Bowl, that in the playoffs, that he's going to be very, very crucial in trying to beat Michigan. We all know how Michigan plays. They play dirty. They want to punch you in the mouth. They want to run it right up the gun, and they want to play a tough game in the trenches. But if Alabama wants to beat them, then Jalen Milroe is going to have to really kind of make explosive plays. And I think that Jermaine Burton, like, he's obviously the number 1 option there. He has to go up against in practice. I always talk about this with the Ohio State wide receivers. The reason why they're so good is they have to go up against some of the best corners in the league, and then they have to do doubles. So I guarantee that Jermaine Burton going up against Kool-Aid McKinstry in practice is just making him a better receiver. And he probably would have went in the 2nd round last year or 3rd round, but he stayed, built a stock. So if they want to beat Michigan and they're not able to make those explosive plays, Michigan's got this game. But if you make J.J. McCarthy try to be explosive, he's not that guy. He's a game manager, and he's a game manager that makes the team better. But he's the key, is that Jermaine Burton's the key to trying to beat Michigan. So if they're going to win, he's the guy I want to take a shot on.
Burton's the one explosive wide receiver on this team. Tommy Rees has run a very run-heavy offense, something we haven't seen in Alabama for a while under the last couple seasons with Bill O'Brien back in the fold. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And, it's been an up and down season for Alabama. They benched the quarterback earlier this season. Now he's back and, has come on really strong. So I'm excited to see what we can see out of Burton here down the stretch. Right now, he's about in that wide receiver 12 to 15 range, I think, for most Dynasty analysts. So hopefully he can move up the draft boards. And if not, maybe he does come back for one more. But here we got, I'm going to go with Jay. Oh, go ahead, Hoov.
Oh, Milroe is going to have to play a perfect game like he did in November. And because Michigan plays perfect football, that any mistakes that Milroe makes, that's done, so it's going to take a lot to beat Michigan. So I see you, Sven. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. I think Michigan wins this game, but I'm saying that the best likelihood of trying to beat Michigan is running through him. So,
okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to stay in that game. You mentioned him. I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy. This is a guy that I can't put my finger on him right now. I've tried to watch the tape, and there's some really good from this guy. He was a 4-star recruit from Illinois. He's led Michigan to back-to-back perfect regular seasons. That means something. He's got the moxie. He's got the command of the offense. Dude has a cannon, completing 74% of his passes this season. More than anything, though, I love the pocket presence. He keeps his eyes downfield, and he's got some wheels as well. Probably going to run somewhere between about a 4.45 and a 4.6. However, in these big games, McCarthy's not that guy. Against Penn State, my Penn State Nittany Lions, he threw 8 fucking passes for 60 yards. 7 for 8 for 60 yards. He's efficient. Ohio State, kind of same deal. 16 for 20, went for 148 and 1. What does he do against a great defense in Alabama? Jay, I don't know how much you've dug into this rookie class yet, but how do you feel about J.J. McCarthy? And I think a run here in the college football playoffs could really boost not only his fantasy stock, but his NFL draft stock as well. Maybe push him into the top 10 of this class here.
Yeah. So although I don't keep up with college football as much as many, I have been paying attention to the quarterback position because there's a chance that the Giants wind up drafting a successor to Daniel Dimes Esquire. From what I've seen from JJ McCarthy, I do like him. I think that he is, I just got my bedtime reminder from my watch. Like you said, what he's done the past.
Minutes.
Yeah, exactly. What I've seen from him, these past 2 years, he's put up some monster numbers, and he's that prototypical quarterback that scouts love to see in the NFL. So I definitely think he can be in one of the first couple of quarterbacks off the board. I don't think he's going to be in that talk with the Drake Mays and the Caleb Williams and stuff like that. But I think he could be that guy that gets taken in the second and the third rounds and winds up, on a better team and potentially starting, put up better numbers earlier.
All right. I love it, man.
If McCarthy doesn't go in the top 20, I will be shocked. I'm a big JJ McCarthy guy, but
I just don't know. That's why I'm really intrigued to see him, because I like him too, Hoov, but I mean, when you're playing against the best teams and he's thrown 8 or 20 times, that's where I'm concerned. So can he air it out here against Alabama? I doubt it. I don't think he's going to throw more than 25 times because it's not how Michigan's rolling. But hey, maybe Jermaine Burton hits a couple big plays for Bama and they need to come back here. Eric, I'll throw over to you. Any thoughts on this quarterback or because I know we're going to see a lot of these quarterbacks. We're going to see Washington be out there. They have a high profile quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. as well. So I think him and JJ are really playing for a lot here.
Yeah, he definitely has a ton on the line, right? In terms of where it actually lands him, I mean, that's a huge question. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up on a similar path to a Will Levis, where
I knew
he slips a little bit and he goes early in the second. I mean, McCarthy's arm talent is, for my money, a pretty good distance ahead of and better than that of Will Levis. And what I like about him most, you mentioned he can do some stuff with his legs, and he absolutely can. But as he's using his legs and as he's buying time, he's still keeping his eye downfield, right? He is moving to buy time so he can throw, right? He's not one of these mobile college guys that gets a little bit of pressure, pulls the ripcord, and takes whatever he can with his legs. He's utilizing his legs in a way that is not dissimilar to some of the better mobile quarterbacks in the NFL game. So I think that will shine through on his tape and during the scouting process, and ultimately help boost up his draft capital.
I love it. What do you got, Hoov? Round us out.
Can I make a bet? Because everyone's talking about how Drake May is probably going to get closer to Caleb Williams, and he's probably going to raise his stock. But I'm going to bet that it's Jaden Daniels that gets closer to Caleb Williams, and that JJ McCarthy gets a lot closer to Drake May than people want to say. Because JJ McCarthy, when you look at a guy like Brock Purdy right now, the game manager that makes his team better.
That's the comp, yeah. Yep.
Is you can't look at him and say that the Broncos, they could cut Russell Wilson, and I think it's $38 million or something over the next 2 years. It doesn't matter on when they cut him; they're still going to have to owe that dead money because they already paid him that. So I don't know how you can look at the draft board and be like, if the Broncos draft at 17 and JJ McCarthy's still sitting there, there's no way he's not going to go there. I guarantee.
Calling his shot. The kid's calling his shot.
There's no way.
He called Bijan to the Falcons. Can he get it right here with JJ McCarthy?
I think it's Jim Harbaugh and JJ with the Raiders, and he'll probably go in. He could go in the top 10. He could go in the top 15 if the Raiders trade back and draft JJ McCarthy. Pair him up with Jim Harbaugh. That's the way. That's the way you beat the Raiders. That's the way you beat the Chiefs on a regular basis. But what do I know?
What do you know? He hasn't thought about this at all, as you can tell. It's brand new to the Hoov brain. Hoov, Eric, I appreciate you guys joining us, and as always, supporting us over here at IBT. We got a lot of great content for you here on the YouTube channel. Easiest way to support us is subscribe, like this video, come back, hang out with us again, and check out the website, inbetweenmedia.com. Our personal handles are all down there as well. Eric, I know you have Green Screens Media as well. We've talked a lot about this season. It's your college basketball fix. You still cashing the green screens over there?
Oh yeah, yeah. The slates have gotten a little weird as we've gone through the holidays, right? Not quite as large,
Yeah.
therefore not as big of contests available, but they're starting to ramp up as soon as this weekend. So we'll be back on Thursday night to break down what looks to be a pretty solid Friday slate.
Hell yeah. And Jay, please tell us, man, where we can find you, where we can find all your work, and not just for this year, but into 2024 as well, our friend.
Yeah, so the best way you can find my work is finding me on Twitter/X, whatever you call it, at GMenJ. I'm currently writing for The Athletic. I did a mock draft series this off season. Not sure if I'm going to be doing that again, but I plan on and hope to be working with them again in the off season and in the upcoming season. You can check out my author page over there. Let me see what it is. I think it's theathletic.com/author /J-Felicio. And I have all my work there. I'm still doing some betting previews, some college football previews. My fantasy stuff is done over there for the year. And then check out, if you want to see my work with FTN, go to the website and all the amazing tools that we have. We got some free stuff available. Subscribers get a little extra, but we have an amazing team, Mike, led by Mike Tallis and Frank Brank, that, we have people going as soon as the games are over. We're charting these games. It's not something that we take lightly. We put a lot of work into it. So you're getting a lot of effort and a lot of, you're not just getting somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. It's you're in there. We're grinding every single day. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to go and grind some more of the games and get into some charting. And
Hell yeah.
you're getting the real deal when you're going to FTN.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate all the work you're doing over there at FTN and the Athletic Fantasy Sports. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us. Thank you to the IBT family for checking us out tonight. Didi, Dave, Sven, Angie, everyone who's been in the chat tonight. Albert, thank you guys so much. It is greatly appreciated. Hoov, should we take him out on a song? Do we want to sing a song to go out? What do you think?
Oh, what do we want to do?
I was thinking Country Roads.
Take me home.
Country road. Oh, I'm sorry.
I belong West Virginia.
Mountain Mamas.
Take me home.
Country roads. All right, guys. We'll see you on Friday. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it in between. Enjoy the Jets game on Thursday, too. Thanks. Bye.